Hey everyone. Okay, I wanted to put together a video to take you through a couple of questions for Section A specifically, and in particular, a topic that people find quite difficult, which is business objectives. So first and foremost, just to ensure that you guys are actually familiar with how to use our website and how to get to these booklets, once you access the Expert Tuition website, if you hover over resources, A-level economics, specifically EdXL, we are hopefully going to put together booklets for other examples in the near future, but for now it's EdXL. Here you go. So you basically have theme one, questions about topic booklets, theme two, theme three, theme four. Yeah. So business objectives, of course, is in theme three. So we're going to click on that and let's open this booklet. Okay. Within this booklet now, it has lots and lots of, they're all past papers, by the way. None of these are made up by us. Past paper questions for section A, B, and C on that particular topic. So if you go to the contents page, you can actually click on that, by the way, and it will jump to that section. But we're dealing with section A. So let's start with the following. So if I just zoom out so you guys can see that. Right. It says, Emily owns and operates a nail ink salon. The diagram shows the cost and revenue curves for treatments at her nail ink salon. Initially, Emily sets her price to maximize profits. Now, you guys need to be intimately familiar with the maximization rule. Profit maximization, where MC equals MR, revenue maximization, where MR equals zero, and sales maximization, where AC equals AR. Yeah, I'll try to put together a video the next week or so on that. But in terms of the rules, so this is the diagram that we're presented with, and the question now says this. Calculate the change in total supernormal profit if Emily changes her objective from profit maximization to revenue maximization. You are advised to show you're working about 4 marks. This should be really easy. If you've not watched my video on how to construct cost and revenue diagrams step by step, you need to watch that video because that video emphasizes the importance of knowing the quantity. Once you know the quantity that a firm is producing, you are the master of the diagram. You can tell me everything because you can tell me the price they're going to charge by going up to the demand curve, otherwise known as AR, and you can tell me the cost by going up to the AC curve from that quantity. In other words, as long as you know what quantity a firm is producing, you can tell me everything that you need to know to determine profitability. So let's start. Let's start with profit maximization. Well, what is the rule for profit maximization? Profit maximization is where MC is equal to MR, and specifically then, that level of output is this, 25 units. I'm now in control. Why? Because all I have to do is I go up from 25 until I hit the AR curve to tell you the price. So what price is Emily charging when she maximizes profit? Well, she clearly charges a price of 17 quid. Yeah. And now I go up from 25 until I hit the AC curve to determine the cost. Well, her cost is clearly £8. So how much profit does she make per unit when she maximizes profit? If the price is £17 and the cost is £8, obviously, very quick maths, she makes £9 of profit per unit. But bear in mind, by the way, we want to work out the total amount of profits. In other words, that whole area here, yeah, this profit here, 17 minus 8. But that's per unit. I now multiply that by the number of units that she sells, which is 25. So if I just write it over here, hopefully you guys will be able to see this when I type it up. Right. So profit at profit max, that's it's going to be the following. It's going to be £9 multiplied by 25, which I hope my math is not embarrassingly bad, is £225. Yeah. So initially, Emily is making £225 of supernormal profit. Cool. She now switches to revenue maximizing behavior. Well, what is revenue maximization? Revenue maximization occurs where MR is equal to zero. So what level of output does MR equal zero? Can you guys see that at the output level of 36 over there? Yeah, when she produces 36 units, she's maximizing her revenue. Again, I now know the quantity. And now that I know the quantity, I can tell you everything by going up from that quantity. First thing I can tell you is the price that she's going to charge. Well, if I go up from 36 till I hit the AR curve, she charges 12 quid, right? How much is it costing her to produce 36 units? Well, I got from 36 till I hit the AC curve. It's costing her £9 to produce. So what is her profit per unit now? Her profit per unit is 12 minus 9, obviously £3. So again, let's do the same thing over here. We go pick profit. And this is rev max. And it's going to be equal to £3. But now I multiply it by the number of units that she produces, and the number of units she's producing at the moment is 36. So 3 times 36, I think it's 108. If I'm wrong, sorry, but you guys can plug it into the calculator and work it out. But there you go, right? And the very fun thing is to basically, you want to do, because it's the change in supernormal profits. So is her supernormal profit increasing or decreasing? It's obviously decreasing. By how much? It's decreasing, if my maths isn't horrendously bad, I think £117. Yeah? Because you just do 225 minus 108. Yeah? Or 108, sorry, minus 225. She's now revenue maximizing. Yeah? And by the way, in terms of logic, That should make sense because the point at which you make the most profit is obviously profit maximization. So she made a lot more profit when she maximized profit at MC equals MR, £225, compared to switching to revenue maximizing behavior, where she only made £108 of profit. Cool. So nice little warm up. Let's go. Let's delve into a few more questions to kind of make sure that you guys know how to answer these. Right, how do I clear my annotations? Clear. Cool. Clear all drawings. Lovely. Okay, let's go. Close this. Let's go. So then we have, oh, there's more. Emily now decides to change her objective from revenue maximization to sales maximization. This change will lead to, okay, so what is the rule for sales maximization? Sales maximization is AC equals AR. Remember, revenue maximization is MR equals 0. Sales maximization is AC is equal to AR. Okay. This change will lead to a decrease in the number of customers. Right. Okay. If you look at the diagram, AC equals AR is there. Yeah. So you know what? Let me quickly annotate this. So it's easier for you guys to see it. So if I very hastily draw a line, I'm going to pretend it's a straight line as best as I can on my laptop to do this. So that's going to be the new quantity. Yeah. That's going to be the sales max quantity over here. Call it Q. And the price you got from the quantity till you hit the AR curve to get the price. So the price is basically like there somewhere, yeah? And we're gonna pretend that's straight line, yeah? Now, the point then is the price clearly, can you see, is lower at sales maximizing behavior than revenue maximizing behavior. But that makes sense. In order for you to sell more output, you obviously need to charge a lower price, yeah? So just to kind of see that, so output goes up, price goes down. That'll make our life a lot easier because now, like, get rid of these drawings now, go down to the options. The options become a lot more straightforward. Where's, oh, gone past it. There we go. Why is my thing? Oh, there we go. Ah, there we go. Sorry, it's hidden at the bottom of the page. A decrease in the number of customers? No. A decrease in the price of treatments? Well, yeah, is the answer, right? An increase in productive efficiency. Productive efficiency is operating at the bottom of the AC curve. If you looked at the diagram we drew, we went beyond that. So not that. An increase in the level of profit. No, because at sales maximizing behavior, by the way, you're making normal profit. So profits actually go down. Hence, the answer is B. Hopefully that's fairly clear. Right, let's go. I'm going to skip a couple of questions, by the way, so that obviously the video will be too long if I go through every single one of these. I definitely want to do this one, though, because this is the type of question that is very typical, where they give you a table and expect you to be able to populate the table. And I'm going to potentially make up a couple of questions as well to make sure you guys are really familiar with this, yeah? So first things first, it says, Lottie runs a tanning shop and the table shows her costs and revenue for one treatment at different price levels. Some parts of the table are left blank for your own calculations. Okay, bonus question to begin with, just to see how kind of alert you guys are. Do we know, based on the data that's provided to us, what her fixed cost is? Well, what is a fixed cost? A fixed cost is a cost that doesn't vary with output, like rent. For example, if I produce no output, I still pay rent. If I produce the maximum number of units that I can produce, I pay the same amount of rent. Can you guys see that when she has 0 customers, her cost is still £30? That must be the fixed cost. Okay, so we straight away can go, that's a fixed cost. Yeah. Now, we want to maximize her profits. And we know that maximization of profits occurs where MC equals MR. So I'll just quickly write that up over here. So profit maximization is MC equals MR. And the data, very helpfully, has already given us the marginal cost. We literally know what the marginal cost is from the data provided. So all we need to work out is the marginal revenue, right? What does marginal revenue mean? Marginal revenue means what is the revenue that you generate by selling one more unit of output, right? Or what is the change in terms of revenue when you sell one more unit? So obviously there are two things. And the clue, by the way, is can you see that they've derived or they've given you total cost and they've given you marginal cost? So what should you be populating here? Well, clearly you're going to be populating TR, and over here you're going to be populating MR, marginal revenue. Yeah. Okay. Let's populate total revenue to begin with. 0 times total revenue, by the way, sorry, is price times quantity, right? If I want to know how much revenue I make, if I sell, let's say, pens for a living, I need to know how many pens I sold multiplied by the price of the pen. Okay, so obviously 0 times 20, you don't make any £0. Yeah, there's nothing there. 0. Then we've got 1 times 18, 18. Then we've got 2 times 16, so that will be 32. Then we have 3 times 14, 42, I think. Hopefully my maths is not wrong. And then we've got 48. And finally, we've got 50. Okay, right. Do we have enough information to work out marginal revenue? Yes, we do. Because now we can go on a unit by unit basis. So we go, okay, when you go, the first one, by the way, marginal revenue, marginal cost, there's nothing, no marginal at 0 units because there's nothing preceding it. So you just ignore that, you leave it blank. And then you go, okay, when we went from 0 units to 1 unit, yeah, or 0 customers to 1 customer, how much did your revenue go up by? Well, our revenue clearly goes from 0 to 18. So the first marginal revenue is 18, right? Then we went from 1 to 2 customers, our revenue increases from 18 to 32. And remember, marginal revenue is how much revenue do you gain by selling that extra unit of output? So how much does total revenue go up by when you produce or sell one more unit? Okay, so what is the difference between 18 and 32? I think it's 14. Yeah, I should really go. I'm going to use my calculator in a second. Right, then we've got 32 to 42. Definitely do that one in my head. It's 10. And then from 42 to 48, 6. And finally, here we go, 2. You should already hopefully now see the answer because we said that it's where MC equals to MR and MC equals MR only occurs at one point, which is here. See that? At 4 customers at a price of £12. Yeah. The answer then automatically must be D, 12 to 14 quid. Yeah. So it has to include the price 12. They're not going to give you more than one option that will have £12, by the way. So you don't need to worry about the fact that it's a range, but that would be the answer. Now, I don't need to, and I wouldn't want you to in the exam because it's a waste of time, to populate total cost. But I want to show you how to do it so that if you get a question where you need to kind of go in reverse, you know how to go in reverse. And actually, in a second, we are going to get a question similar to this. Yeah. So if I have marginals and I want to now calculate the totals, what do I do? Well, initially, when she sells there's no units or no output, her total cost is £30, that fixed cost. And then it says that when she produces 1 unit, the marginal cost, the cost of producing that individual unit, was £2. What is her total cost at an output level of 1 then? Well, her total cost is the £30, the fixed cost, plus the £2 extra cost that she's incurred for that extra unit. So in other words, at an output level of 1, the total cost is 32. Okay. What is the output level when she produces 2 units? Well, the next unit, it's going to cost 3 quid to produce. And bear in mind, it's cumulative because total takes into account everything. So we're going to go 32 plus 3, 35. And then from there on, obviously, it should be very easy. So you go 39, 45, 55. Cool. That's how you populate a table like this and get the answer right. I'm going to do another one to ensure that you guys really know how to answer these. And I might make up a couple in a second if we've got time. But I really need this to make sense. So let's skip to the next question. I'll maybe come back to that later. I'll do that later. Okay, this is what I want to do. Yeah. Now they've given you all the variables here, so that makes it life a bit easier. But it says the table gives weekly information about the possible short-run output, costs, and revenue of a firm making military equipment. Some cells have been left blank for your own workings. Right. Bonus question again, just to make sure that you guys are familiar with this. What is the fixed cost for this firm? Can you guys see the fixed cost for this firm is £10 million because output is 0, there's still a cost. And then we're trying to work out what level of output would mean that the firm is sales maximizing. So this is why, again, it's so important that you know, understand, and have memorized the rules for the different maximization rules. Sales maximization, which hopefully you all know, is where AC equals AR. So I'm going to write AC equals AR. Okay. There are several things that we're presented with. The first is they have given me already the total revenue, which is very handy. Because if I want to calculate average anything, so average revenue, average cost, average variable cost, whatever it is, all you have to do is take the total of the concept and divide it by quantity, right? To understand why, by the way, if I were to calculate, let's say, our average age, I add mine and your age, I'm the anomaly, right? And I divide it by 2 because it's me, you, yeah? So that's how you calculate average anything. You take the total and you divide it by the quantity. Okay, we have the total revenue. So therefore, we can immediately populate average revenue very, very easily. And they've given you a massive clue because they've done the first one for you. They've gone, look, guys, 40 divided by 1, crazy stuff, is 40, yeah? So let's now populate the remainder of it. This time I probably will need to use my calculator. So we've got, not for the first one, hopefully, 60 divided by 2 is equal to 30, yeah? Now this one, 78 divided by 3. Okay, just to be clear, by the way, so that's TR divided by Q, yeah? It's equal to 26. Should probably actually be able to do that in my head. 96 divided by 4. I think it's 24, but I might be wrong. Let's see, 96 divided by 4. Oh, it's 24. Go me. Right, and then 105 divided by 5. That should be easy, but my brain is not working. I don't know why. It's 21. Okay, right. So 105 divided by 5, 21. Yeah? Okay. I have one part of what I need. I need to get AC, I need to get AR. Yeah? Let's do the other side. Now, remember that to calculate an average, you need the total because you need to do total divided by the output. So here, with the marginal cost that I have available given to me, I can't tell you the average cost. What I can do, though, is what we just did a second ago on my previous question, which is I can use the marginals to populate total. And once I populate total, I can easily get you the averages. So let's work it out together. If they produce 1 unit, the marginal cost of producing 1 unit is exactly 15 million pounds. So how much is the total cost at that level of output? It's just 10 plus 15, because you're just adding an extra 15 million pounds of cost, which is equal to obviously 25. Yeah. Then we have plus 9, the next unit basically is going to be that. So 34. 34 plus 18. Why am I doing this in a calculator? But it's better to get it right and not confuse you guys. 52. Yeah. And then plus 44, 96. And then plus 54, 150. Yeah. Okay. Do I have enough information to work out the average cost? Yes, I do. Bear in mind, by the way, that sales maximization as a rule, each of these rules has two things. So, for example, profit maximization is MC equals MR, but also the biggest gap between revenue and cost. Revenue maximization is MR equals 0, but also the peak of the TR curve, the highest point where revenue, the most revenue, total revenue generated. Sales maximization is both AC equals AR, but it's also TC equals TR. Yeah. TC equals TR. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe some of you have noticed already. We already have the answer, by the way, because there is a point at which TC is exactly equal to TR. But regardless, let's just do the maths anyway to make sure that we understand, and also to check that we didn't make a mistake. Because at that level of output, both AC should equal AR and TC should equal TR. So, anyways, so what do we do now? We go 25 divided by 1. They've done it for us. Is obviously equal to 25. Nice and easy. Then we go 34 total cost divided by the output of 2 is equal to 17. Yeah. Then we've got 52. Let's do 52 divided by 3. Okay, I feel less bad about not knowing that one. 17.33. Cool. Then we have 96 divided by 4, which is equal to 24. I can guarantee you that. And then 150 divided by 5. I think that's 30. Pretty sure it's 150 divided by 5. We're exposing how bad my mathematics become, but there we go. Can you see the answer? Can you guys see that at an output level of 4, AC of 24, or AR, sorry, of 24 is equal to AC at 24, and TC is 96, and TR is 96. And that makes sense. They need to be equal at the same level of output, of course. AR equals AC, TC equals TR. The correct answer has to be D. It's 4. Super clear? Right, hopefully we're now warming up, and this is all starting to really make sense, and you're feeling more confident in the topic. Let's go and do another question. There's one in particular I really want to do. This one. Okay, this one, people hate this question. And I want to just show you guys the importance of when you get your script and in section A, annotating diagrams or filling in, for example, tables, because it will make your life a lot easier. It says a pizza restaurant faces the the demand curve. Which one of the following is necessarily true? Okay, before we look at any of the options, what I want you to recognize is now that you are operating at a very high level, theme 3, what is a demand curve? It's got another name. Well, do you guys agree that demand is equal to AR? It is literally the exact same thing. Yeah, they're the same thing. So it's closer. So D is equal to AR. Now, because I know that demand is equal to AR, and because I know that MR is always half the slope of the demand curve or the AR curve, other than perfect competition where they're equal to each other, that means I can immediately now draw you an MR curve on that particular diagram. How? Well, if I draw a straight line, I'll get a straight line on this. There must be a straight line, surely. Otherwise, I'll try freehand. Here we go. Nice. Okay. It's going to start at the same point at £10. Now, half of, see where it hits the x-axis at 1,000? Obviously, half of 1,000 is 500. So if I draw right like that, that must be my MR curve. I know I've kind of gone over one of the options. Let's do it over here. Yeah. So margin revenue, it must be that curve over there. And that will help in a second. Yeah. Now, let's go through the options. And I'm going to do it in a random order. Yeah. Or we're going to start from E and work our way up. But regardless, let's start with E. E is actually the option that most students that year selected. And it was the one that they had to trick you. It was there because it looks like it's correct. And I understand why people thought it was correct. It says, cutting the price from £6 to £5 will increase profits. Okay. If I go from £6 to £5, what happens is this. So a lot of people would have gone, oh, at £6, I'm selling 400 units, so I make £2,400. Agreed. And when I go to £5, I now sell 500 units, and that's 2,500. Yeah, I made £100 more. You made £100 more revenue. You have no idea whether that made more profit or not, because profit is not just revenue, it's revenue minus the cost. And we have no cost curve on this diagram. The only thing we have is revenue curves. You cannot therefore tell me anything that will involve costs. You can't tell me anything about the profit. It's not possible for you to tell me whether the profits are going up, staying the same, or going down. That was the trick option. If it had said, by the way, it will increase revenue, that answer will be valid and it will be correct. But it is not saying that. It is saying profit. It therefore cannot be E. Then we go to D. Average revenue will equal zero, where price elasticity of demand is unitary. Well, it's a lot of nonsense. Unitary elasticity always occurs at the midpoint of the demand curve. And the midpoint of the demand curve is always, if you think about it, if this is 1,000, sorry. See where MR equals zero there? If I go up, it's there. The price is not zero. The price is £5. So it's not D. C. Sales are maximized at a price of £6. A good opportunity for you to pause the video at this stage to check that you know what the rule is for sales max. I did it a second ago. Sales maximization is AC equals AR. I have an AR curve. Do I have an AC curve? I ain't got an AC curve. I can't therefore assume. I can't tell you if sales are maximized at price of. I have no idea because I have an AC curve. So it cannot be C. B. Revenue maximization occurs at a price of £6. What is the rule for revenue maximization? Revenue maximization occurs where MR equals to zero. That I can tell you. Revenue maximization occurs at that level of output of 500. And I can always tell you the price by going up from that point until you hit the demand curve, the AR curve. So go from 500, it's it there. But can you see the price is not £6, it is £5. Therefore, B is also incorrect, which leads us to the answer. The answer is really underwhelming and a bit lame. The answer just says marginal revenue will be positive, okay, positive, and then negative as price falls. That's just describing the shape of the MR curve. And if you think about it, if you drew it, it's a lot easier for you to have seen that, yeah? Now, even if that isn't abundantly clear, I mean, it hopefully is because it's positive at this point, positive, positive. So in order for you to sell one more pizza, you might start off by charging, let's say, £10, and then to sell an extra pizza, you sell £9 and so on and so forth. So it's positive to begin with, but eventually marginal revenue, as you should know, becomes negative. It goes through the axes. It's just an illustration of the diagram. But even if that wasn't super duper clear, you should be able to, with conviction, rule out all of the other options. Because all of the other options, we can theoretically show why they are incorrect. Clear? Cool. Let's do like just one or two more questions, because hopefully now this is a lot clearer as a topic. But, and I'm worried the video being kind of taking ages. This is really straightforward. So the maximizing revenue, we know MR equals zero is the revenue maximizing level of output Z. And what was it, the price? Go up to the AR curve, easy. So it's K. Yeah, so okay. Anyways, we're above that level now. Yeah. Should we do Lizzie's? Okay, let's do it because just to kind of be super safe and make sure that everyone's really comfortable with annotating these tables one more time. So the thing we just have to skip the question. She's maximizing profit. What is profit maximization? MC equals MR. Yeah, MC equals MR, and I'm given a marginal cost. Therefore, all I need is marginal revenue, and it's exactly like we did before. To get marginal revenue, I need total revenue. So how do I get total revenue? I basically will populate this. In fact, you know what? I'm going to get you guys to do this. So this would be TR, and this would be MR. Oops, everything. And this would be MR. Okay, let's pretend that's central. And you populate it, and then you obviously see the exact level of output that she needs to operate at to where MC equals MR. Cool. You guys should be able to do that now comfortably. Right, I want to see if there's any more awkward questions in this booklet. Oh, that one is amazing. Yeah, okay, I'm going to do that one. Okay, this is going to be the last question in the video. And then, of course, you guys are very welcome to go through the rest of the booklet by yourself, go through the mark scheme, make sure it's really familiar, but hopefully that's really clear. This is such a good question. I like this one. A profit maximizing monopolist operates at the output level where? Okay, firstly, we know that profit maximization is where MC equals to MR. So let's annotate that. So it's MC equals MR, yeah? Or, by the way, or the biggest gap between TR and TC. Between TR and TC, okay? Now, everyone was obviously looking for those options, and you'll notice in a second that none of the options have that. Absolutely none of them have that in there. And some people are like, what in the world is this? Let's go through it. A, average revenue equals average cost. Well, that is not profit maximization. Hopefully you recognize what that is. That is sales maximization, AR equals AC. So it's not A. Total revenue is at a maximum. Is that maximizing profits? No, that's maximizing revenue. So it's not B. C, the price is equal to marginal cost. Now, none of the maximization rules are that, but for those of you that have really revised in your top level, you should recognize that that's allocative efficiency. So if you're producing at the allocatively efficient level of output, that's where price equals marginal cost. So again, that's not profit maximization though. The price is equal to the marginal revenue. P equals MR is an absolute made up point. Yeah, I mean, like the only point, the only time that that will happen, by the way, is if they are in perfect competition. But even then, that's not maximizing profit. Right. This obviously means the answer is E, but can I explain why it is E? Profit maximization, where MC equals MR. Let's understand what that means. Marginal cost is the cost of producing one more unit, and marginal revenue is how much revenue you gain from selling one more unit. Yeah. So do you know what? Actually, to really kind of illustrate this, let me just pause the video for 1 second. I'm gonna share my screen and draw it out because it's easier to understand it that way, and then I'll explain why the answer is definitely E. So let's pause the video for a second. Okay, so um, profit maximization is where MC is exactly equal to MR, as I've drawn on the diagram over here, yeah? But I need this to actually make sense. The logic is that if you want to maximize profits, you only maximize profits if you extract every single penny of profit available to you. If there's even 1p of profit available to you that you've not taken advantage of, you are not maximizing profit, okay? So let's understand why that therefore necessitates that the output level is where I've depicted over here, where MC equals MR at Q1. Because if a firm is producing to the left of that level of output, so somewhere over here, let's say this is the amount of output we're producing, what's higher, marginal cost or marginal revenue? Clearly, marginal revenue is a lot higher than marginal cost. Right? What does that mean? So imagine that you and I sell chairs for a living, and I say to you guys that this next chair, we could sell that chair for £10, and it's going to cost us £1 to manufacture that chair. Should we manufacture and sell the chair? Well, obviously, yes, because you make £9 of profit. So you go and make that chair. We now move on to the next unit somewhere over there. Marginal cost is there, marginal revenue is there. Marginal revenue is still higher, but can you see the gap is starting to narrow? It used to be like something like that. Now it's something like this. So that's like me saying the next chair, we could sell it for £7 and it's going to cost us, let's say, £4 to make the chair. Should we make the chair? Now, sometimes I get people going, oh, I made £9 of profit for now. I'm only making £3 of profit. No, it's cumulative. You made your £9 of profit on that individual chair. Keep selling. You're making £3 of profit. Keep producing. So you make that £3 of profit. What if I said to you, the next chair, we could sell it for £6 and it will cost us to produce it £5.99. Should you make the chair? The answer is yes, because you would make 1p of profit. And if you want to maximize profit, you need to ensure that you take every penny of profit available to you. But when we get to this point where MC equals MR, now you're indifferent because it's like the chair's going to cost £6 to make and you can sell it for £6. At that point, you just kind of stop. Yeah. That's the profit maximizing level of output. By the way, bear in mind beyond that level of output. So if I go somewhere over here, can you see that marginal revenue is here now? A marginal cost is there. You're now making a loss on the individual chair by producing it, which eats into your profit. Bear in mind, you have to sell loads of shit loss-making chairs for it to start becoming like losses overall. But like, why would I make a loss-making chair if I want to maximize profit? I want to stop at the level of output where MC is exactly equal to MR. Right, that leads us back to the question that we were dealing with, which I will put up now again, because it's an interesting answer. This was a concept that they basically made up. What does the word marginal mean? Marginal means an extra unit, right? An additional unit. Marginal profit isn't really a thing. Like, I mean, it can be, but like, you know how marginal revenue, for example, is how much revenue do I gain from selling one more unit of output? You know the example of the chairs that I just went through a second ago? The point at which marginal cost was equal to marginal revenue, so the chair was being sold for £6 and it was costing £6. What was the marginal profit on that level of output, on that individual chair? It was zero because there was no more profit to gain. Whereas earlier, when I was selling the chair for £9 and it was costing £1, the marginal profit was £8 or whatever the numbers I used, I can't remember the exact numbers I used. My point then is when you get to the point where you maximize profit, there is no more profit to be gained, and therefore marginal profit is equal to zero. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense, and hopefully this video was useful. And yeah, I'll try to put together more videos for you guys in the next couple of weeks.